All right, everybody, let's just get to it, man. Let's just get rocking and rolling here on Shawn P. Greene, Shawn P. Greene Show, Buffalo, New York, reporting live in my home studio. And I just want to get right to this. There's a lot to unpack in the world of the Buffalo politics, culture, religion, and then beyond the world. As you see, I'm wearing the same shirt from last week. No, I did actually clean this shirt, and I wore it again today because it's been hot. Matter of fact, it's I think it was like in the 80s today. Anyways, it's not like a big heat wave thing going on, but it's a little humid, especially upstairs where I have no AC. So, don't feel bad for me. Life is still pretty decent on my end. All right, I want to get to this stuff right now. A lot's going on. I have my list of things to talk about. And if you're looking at this because you saw the hashtags, this is what is going to be talked about today. There's a lot of politics, a lot of stuff, a lot of shakeups that's happened in Buffalo just in the last couple days. And I'm not just talking about government, but also within a church, there's scandals, just kind of like things are opening up here. Just this weekend, it seems like, just last 2 days. And but these are ongoing situations for some people. So we'll get into that in a second. I do want to address church fires happening around different parts of the world, Christian churches specifically. And, arsons, sometimes it's just faulty wiring. You don't know. I mean, I don't know all the investigations and what happens. But we got church fires, a bunch of them happened in the last 6 days. One specifically happened here in Buffalo, too. I'll get to that in a second. Talk about these Buffalo scandals. Talk about a little bit of the church government and a hot issue on the east side of Buffalo with the immigration takeover in the east side of Buffalo, namely by Bangladeshi immigrants, and how it's affecting the black community that live in these neighborhoods. And then you're going to hear from one of these gentlemen, Nate Boyd, who's going to address that issue and voice his opinion, which I think is a valid opinion. We also have, a lot of Arab descent, or Yemenis even, people that are in Lackawanna, south of us in our city. Yet, it seems like those two cultures, they don't really mesh well, even though they're under the same kind of Islamic governmental Sunni system that they adhere to. But they don't all jive with each other. So that's one thing. More violence happened in the city of Buffalo. And we also have a controversy with the Buffalo Bills' new stadium. I'll get to that when I talk a little bit about the sports. And, of course, a little update of World Cup, which is almost over. So I won't ever talk about that for another 4 years, if anything. So let me get right to the big topic. I want to address the big topic. All these church fires are all over the place. There's one happened in Brooklyn. There's one that happened in, like I said, the east side of Buffalo. Or it could be the west side of Buffalo, I'm sorry. And California, Europe, you've seen a lot of more and more church fires happening. And if you remember years ago, the Notre Dame Cathedral in France was also a victim of, I think it was arson. I don't know the full story, but those of you who are investigative reporters, feel free to check everything. But I just want to address the the current last 6 days, from what I've seen, the news cycle of all these churches being burned. Or you can say it's arson, you can say it's negligence, it's abandoned buildings. There's a lot of different reasons why a fire could break out. But let's just get into it a little bit. I want to address the one in East Side Buffalo first. Let's see if I can find it. There it is. It's a vacant. This one was vacant. I'm going to just pull up the story on YouTube and play that.
Think safety.
Not play this.
Think Granger.
Advertisement.
For trusted products.
I'm not playing advertisements. Skip it. All right, here we go. Oh, more advertising. Okay.
We begin first at 4 with breaking news from Buffalo's East Side. Crews are on the scene of a fire at an abandoned church at East Ferry and Moselle Streets. Video from the scene shows dozens of firefighters as heavy smoke poured from the building. The former Catholic church closed in the 1990s and later housed a Quran and science tutorial center, which has also since closed. We have reached out to city officials to learn whether anyone was hurt and what investigators believe started that fire.
All right, so there's an ongoing investigation, but this happened, looks like, trying to get the date, 6 days ago. Only 300 views, because it's probably not a whole lot of information. But that's East Ferry, so it's the east side. Moselle, which is not too far from Bailey, if anybody's familiar with our city. So yeah, this has been vacant for a while. And I do remember that it was used, the Muslims were trying to use it as well. And I'm gonna say it this way. I suspect when it comes to all these old church buildings, I suspect foul play, whoever owns it is doing something to try to cause fires, to either get money for insurance or some sort of plan to demolish it, funding from outside of an area, and, claim the territory for a better purpose. I mean, a lot of these buildings are old. This was built in the late 1800s. Could be, I don't know. I missed what she said on when it was built. But see, a lot of these buildings, some of them were built during the Renaissance. Some of them were built during the, after the Reconstruction, after all this different things that happened in the USA, around the world. They've been a couple centuries old. I have theories as to what's going on, but we can't just rely on theories, right? We need concrete evidence of what's happening. So let's just leave it at that for now. But that's on the east side of Buffalo. Let's see what another church it looks like. This was another report. That's in Mount Washington. This one is in Pennsylvania.
Hello, my name is Adam Ferrari, the Chief Executive Officer of Phoenix Energy.
Ferrari, yeah. Okay.
I look forward to you.
Okay.
Well, Drone 11 giving us a look at the extensive damage after that massive fire at an abandoned church on Mount Washington. You can see it here, and you can see there melted stained glass and even some charred walls. And the flames were so intense that smoke could be seen all across the city yesterday.
And Channel 11's Rachel Pierce joining us from Mount Washington, where investigators are working to figure out what sparked that fire.
We're getting a closer look at the damage left at the old Presbyterian church here on Grandview Avenue. You can see just how intense these flames were by the stained glass melted out of the window frame. Crews spent Wednesday morning putting out hot spots hours after these flames tore through the former church along Grandview Avenue.
I looked outside and thought it was going to rain, but it was smoke.
As firefighters worked to put out these flames, police say 23-year-old Colton Norman ran right towards a church window and said he wanted to look at the fire. He's charged with obstructing emergency services, but Pittsburgh Public Safety says it's too soon to tell if any arson.
So Mount Washington, obviously, if you're from Pittsburgh, you know sort of where it's at. I believe it's south of the city or south of the city or around the city. I don't know, Mount Washington. I visited there a couple times. I have a friend that used to live out in that area. But I guess it's high elevated compared to the actual city of Pittsburgh. And but yeah, so this is another incident outside of Western New York, outside of Buffalo area, that happened recently, this last 6 days. So that's two.
Charges will be filed. Neighbors told us they've been worried something might happen at the old church.
Unfortunately, I have seen some people maybe using it as a residence, using it as a shelter, using it as a space to eat. So I've seen a lot of activity around it.
Another concern made clear by this graffiti on the church.
It's been a hazard for many, many years now. The neighbors have been worried about its collapse. It's very sad.
Channel 11 reported on plans to demolish the church and build a residential building. Because of its height, it requires a zoning code change. Councilwoman Kim Salnetro says she put in for an extension to change the code, as she would like to hear more from the community and developer.
There has been a lot of talks about what's going to be in that spot, but for how many years it's been sitting there abandoned and kind of.
And this is the point. The point is they're tied up with codes, zoning codes with the cities, the municipalities, whatever, counties. This is the major issue that a lot of these old buildings have to deal with. And of course, I understand the position on it, that it's kind of a pain to go through the red tape in order to get things done. But people drag their feet after they try to fight the system to get their way with something they want to do, make progress with, and they don't make progress, then they abandon it, the project, or walk away for a season and deal with other projects that seems to render more what's the word I'm looking for? More return of investment on a quicker scale too.
Falling apart.
Pittsburgh Public Safety tells us their investigation is ongoing. Reporting on Mount Washington, Rachel Pierce, Channel 11 News.
So that was a big one there. That's a. Hang on a second. All right, so now you got Buffalo, Washington, or Pittsburgh. That's two fires in just within a couple days or a day with each other, or I think it was the same day if I'm not mistaken. So what's going on? Coincidence maybe. Let's see what else. Waycross. This was from a lightning strike. Check this out. This is Waycross, Georgia.
Tonight, a Waycross congregation is picking up the pieces. The pastor there says lightning sparked a fire at Deanwood Baptist Church. It tore through the sanctuary last night. New video shows the roof gone in some places and debris scattered across the ground. Pastor Jared Everson has been here for 17 years. He says lightning struck the steeple at Deanwood Baptist Church last night, and within minutes, flames spread across the roof. He tells us that he was inside the church when it happened.
There was a loud pop, and a few minutes later there was a banging on the front door, and I went and there was a fireman there, and he said that the building was on fire.
Just like all these stories, everybody says allegedly. No, I mean it doesn't look like an arson. That definitely looks like something the force of nature had some sort of influence over.
Wow, the pastor says he believes the church is a total loss from the fire as well as from the water damage. He says he is praying for wisdom to guide his next steps. Meanwhile, we have reached out to investigators to confirm that lightning was the cause of fire. Tonight, a Waycross congregation.
Okay, so Waycross, Georgia. That's another one. Anything else happened in the last week? Let's see, lightning. That was 6 days ago. All right, so I'm just looking at it. I'm seeing all these different reports in this last week, so I figured it's a viable, research to do this live with you. And here's another one. Give me 1 second. Okay. This one was just just 1 day ago here.
Well, we have now learned that a fire that burned a historic Brooklyn church to the ground was intentionally set. Alan Devlin spoke with the pastor who says that he just doesn't know who would target their place of worship.
It was just more than a building.
A Brooklyn church community hit with a second wave of pain Monday, weeks after losing their historic neighborhood church to a fire. The FDNY announcing this blaze that consumed the South Bushwick Reformed Church is being investigated as arson.
We have no known enemies.
Church pastor James E. Stewart says up until the fire, the congregation met weekly. A community staple, the church also acted as an event space and a food pantry. He adds he has no clue who would do something like this.
Now we understand that it is intentional, and so that, of course, brings another layer of grief.
The National Registered Landmark was built in 1863 and has stood tall on Bushwick Avenue ever since, acting as a beacon in the community. Archival photos show a church that watched the neighborhood grow around it, but that beacon became a target in late June, and the South Bushwick community is left heart.
So, South Bushwick, if anybody doesn't know, that's in Brooklyn, New York. That's pretty much almost right in the middle of the spot between Manhattan and Long Island, and then almost right in the middle of Brooklyn itself.
Heartbroken.
I think it's messed up because it's been here forever. My aunt got married in this church.
That's incredibly upsetting. I mean, if it was arson, that would be really just shocking and upsetting because, like Lee said, it's a historical landmark and it means a lot to people.
While the goal is to rebuild in the future,
I want nothing more for it to be restored. It's seen so many generations.
A pastor and congregation forced to lead generations of worship in the past, asking why their haven was done harm.
Whoever it is that's responsible for it ultimately has to answer to God.
The pastor tells me the church will need to be torn down completely, a process that's expected to be finished by August of this year. They would love to rebuild in its entirety, but that process could take a long time, and it's not guaranteed. In Bushwick, Alan Devlin, CBS News, New York.
All right, so there you go. There's another instance where a church fire. This is like 1 week of 4 of them now. You got Georgia, Pennsylvania, 2 in New York. Okay. Unrelated, okay? I understand it's not they're not in unison. They're not like intentional to destroy churches all at once. Some of it is a fluke. Some of it is arson. And those things need to be investigated. What else? We got one more? One more in the U.S.? I thought there was another one. Let me see if this is one here. Oh, this one's Ethiopian Orthodox Church in Rosemont. Let me just put that one up there. I think there's I'm looking at the picture of it right now. I think that's in California. I'm going to double check. We're going to look. We're going to check it out. All these churches. There it is. It's crazy. All right, guys, here we go. One more.
Less job
One
hunting,
more commercial.
more jobs
Skip.
finding you.
I promise I wasn't trying to get commercials, but maybe I get some money off of that. Wikipedia. All right, Wikipedia, here we go.
You out here, Amber. This is the scene of that church fire in Rosemont, a former Lighthouse Christian Church building, where they continue to pour a lot of water on that.
Yeah, I wanted to take us here right away before we discuss the fires up north because, as you can see, it's still an active scene. I haven't seen flames or a lot of smoke coming out of here over the last, I think this shot's been up for probably 45 minutes now. But
I'm sorry, this
as
has
you
been
can see, they're still
my bad.
clearly fighting hot.
This is a Rosemont Ethiopian church. It says Minneapolis St. Paul is reporting it. So I'm assuming that's where this is at then. Yep, it's in Minnesota. I believe so. Hang on. 144th Street West, Rosemont. Let's find out what this is all about here. Give me a second. I'm trying to find the answer for this while we're doing this.
Spots or something similar there in the building. The top of that church absolutely just decimated by the fire this morning. We were told that they believe the building was unoccupied at the time of the fire. I have, Rob, seen people out there sitting on the curb watching firefighters, fight this and looking.
Okay, they're analyzing this.
Very upset. So clearly, I would think people with some sort of connection to whatever may be calling this.
All right, let's go to the report. Oh, somebody just posted this. So this is the Orthodox Church. It says Apple Valley. So yeah, I was right. It's supposed to be California. St. Gabriel? All right. Just give me 1 second. I'm going to make sure I verify this because Rosemont, Ethiopia. Hey. Okay, it says Minnesota. My bad. So it's an Ethiopian church. We don't know why. We don't understand why. So here's more, just the footage of it burning. Somebody that put it up on YouTube. Limitless Media provided content. Okay. So we understand that.
What if there was a song about
all right,
young man, big dream, in the style of pop?
This is the scene of that church fire in Rosemont, a former Lighthouse Christian church building where they continue to pour a lot of water on that.
Yeah, I wanted to take us here right away before we discuss the fires up north.
Okay, here you go.
A Minnesota faith community says it will rise from the ashes after a devastating fire. You can see charred walls are still standing after flames ripped through a church in Rosemount. WCCO's Jason Rantala shows us how they plan to rebuild despite the destruction.
Massive flames consumed this Rosemount church Monday morning. Fire departments from several neighboring cities came to help put out the flames. Thankfully, no one was inside at the time. Once the fire was out, a bird's eye view shows the destruction. It's been an Ethiopian Orthodox church for just a few months, but neighbors say the building's history dates back to the late 1950s.
It impacted so many lives through the generations.
Christopher Marks served on the staff back when the building was known as St. John's Lutheran Church. His wife grew up in the church. The two even got married here.
You were so gorgeous coming down the stairs in your gown.
And his children were baptized here. He was here when current church members were just learning the news.
The Ethiopian Orthodox priest was in his uniform and in it, his hands on the top of his head and just kind of crying out to God for help.
It's very tough. It's an icon in the community.
The church has been an integral part of Dawn Oren's life ever since she was a small girl.
So it doesn't really have like one specific type of church. It's not like across the board or attacking a specific denomination, but the fact that these are all churches that are burning all within 1 week. It's kind of like, I'm not going to try to be a doomsdayer here, but I want to say it this way. I feel like there's some sort of sign, let's just put it that way, a sign of a possibility of judgment to come in America. Okay? Now, some people will get mad at me even saying something like this, but a lot of the Christian churches have gone woke. And what I mean by woke is that they've embraced left-wing ideology as to what a church could be or what they think it should be. Very inclusive of anybody. Now, I'm not saying that a church should not be inclusive, okay? I'm not saying that as my opinion. But there are standards, too, that you have to live by if you're going to function as a Christian church. Now, the word church means ecclesia, which is the called out ones or the chosen or whatever you want to call it. It's the called out ones, set apart. They're supposed to be non-heathen functions in a building, in a congregation of people believing in Jesus. That's what a church is designed for. But people have taken it to the extreme left to mean everything goes. And then we decide what the Bible states. And we will tell you, this is how Catholicism, I'm not preaching against Catholics, but Catholicism over centuries got perverted, is that the people were not allowed to read the Bible for themselves. Only a priest was allowed to dictate what the Word of God was saying. And especially when it was translated from Greek to the Latin Vulgate, the Latin Vulgate did not interpret it as it was intended in the Greek. Some people misinterpreted it and made a whole life, centuries of doctrine out of it. And it wasn't until you had real Bible scholarly people combing through the original texts, updating things according to today's standards, but also to today's language. And, it's hard to really distinguish everybody's intent. This is one thing that they teach us back in college, is how to read old texts and try to get context and try to get understanding of who the author was, when the author wrote it, what was going on in history, what they were relating it to. And that we're talking about plays, we're talking about, as far back as the Greeks, Aristotle years, so to speak, and before that, all these different Greek theologians, philosophers, artists, all that stuff was that time frame. They had a reason for what they said and did, and you have to understand context. The same concept is with the Bible. You have to understand context to really get an understanding. All right, moving forward with that topic. All these churches being all at once, it seems, it's a sign to me. I don't see anybody that got hurt, so I know God wasn't doing it. I know the enemy hates the church, so nobody, as far as I've seen, was damaged or hurt, so there was a protection, I think, over God's people, but the church buildings themselves is not the church. It's just the place where they congregate. But it's a symbol. To me, it's a symbol of the possible coming judgment for this year. Okay? And I've been saying this for 35 years. Okay? I've been saying this. You might not believe me. I don't know if I have too much recordings of myself speaking prophetically before, because it's easy to be called a false prophet if something doesn't happen in a timely fashion. But this is something that could be concerning, I think, to be worried about. We've already talked about the fires, the earthquakes, the bunch of other things happening, natural disasters. But this, to me, is a newer sign or a symbol of what's to come. And I'll get into what I believe is going to bring that about. So, anyways, let's just finish the rest of the story, which is not much.
When her church moved out a year ago, she collected a plethora of historic documents, hoping to preserve the memory of the decades-old building.
And our hearts are hurting for the people that took over the church and bought the church from us. We still feel very connected. Even though it's just a building, we feel connected because of all the things that have taken place here in personal events.
As authorities continue to investigate the cause of this fire, church leaders say they hope to rebuild.
We join with them in prayer. We join with them if there's ways that we can help fund as they move forward.
In Rosemount, Jason Rantala, WCCO News.
And the church has now raised more than $35,000 through an online fundraiser.
Which is nearly not a whole lot with today's expenses for construction or reconstruction. Crazy. All right, I'm trying to skip all this stuff. Let's see if I can find. See if I can find something out here. Give me 1 second, guys. Almost there. Amsterdam. That was a New Year's Day. All right, 6 months ago. Netherlands. All right, we already discussed that. Cathedral 2 years ago. France. That was a big one. Historic church 6 months ago. Churches burning. That's what started in Europe a year ago. Okay, bunch of other churches. 6 hours ago, another big fire in France. Okay. Let's see, 4 years ago, the cathedral, Notre Dame Cathedral, was a big deal. There was one in 11 years ago. Okay. Just looking, I'm reviewing some of these. A couple 2 years ago. And, it just happens. All right. We'll move on from this topic because I don't want to take up this whole time talking about church fires. I do want to talk about something else. Really hot topic for me for this Western New York area. And it's something that somebody posted on not mine, but on their Facebook Live that I want to bring to the surface. That is a local issue. But first, let's talk about this guy. I don't know nothing about this guy, but only 1 year in, talking about Buffalo local politics. A Buffalo school superintendent was resigning after 1 year, $300,000 salary. Let's see what WGRZ says. Pascal Mbenga resigns as Buffalo school superintendent, and there is no details. It was just a very simple public hearing, and it was quick, and they didn't really address why. He was introduced as a new superintendent last July 22nd. It's almost exactly a year. And unanimously approved by the Board of Education that day. He was a district leader in Durham, North Carolina. Here we go again. People from outside of Western New York coming in, running things, running government. We've already talked about last week our police chief came from Georgia, I believe. She's running things. We got all this violence happening in our city now. Is it all her? Is it all her doing? Is it her doing? I'm not going to say that, but it's under her watch. So it's a legitimate question to ask. What's the problem here in Buffalo? All right, so this guy from he was a district leader at Durham, North Carolina. However, he resigned in 2024 after a budget kerfuffle led to a $9 million spending gap. Board of Education's purpose for a special session Monday night, last night, was to work through the selection process for a new North District board member after the resignation of Cindy McAkin on July 24th. Okay, I don't understand. So see, this is the issue going on in Buffalo. Something ain't right in Buffalo politics. Something ain't right. Who's at the helm is the mayor. I have to start from the top. Then we'll go up further. Who's at the top of the state of New York? And then we can go to the national level. Who's at the top of the country? Everything trickles down. Something's a problem. Something's going on. Not only that, New York State's losing so many people now recently. People are leaving. They don't want to be here. They don't want to live in this state. And California is no different. They're moving in droves outside of both states. All right, so there's really no details that I can see from this situation with the school superintendent. All right, let's go back to another issue. The hits keep coming from Buffalo schools as superintendent resigns. So, okay, people are going to speculate as to what the problem is. All right, here's another thing. Here's another issue. A Buffalo police deputy shoved an African-American woman, a white cop shoving an African-American woman. So that's a problem, right? Everywhere, anywhere. So here's an issue that had happened just recently. There was a scuffling in Chippewa, which is used to be like our real major red light district. It's kind of like weaned down quite a bit. It's not as wild as it used to be, but it's got its moments. So let's see if I have a news report here. Skip the ad. Let's see if I can open this up. Give me 1 second, guys. I could probably just get it quicker if I go to YouTube, but
to shove a woman.
All right, let's go back.
Good evening, everyone. Our top story, new at 7 tonight. In a widely shared video on social media, a deputy commissioner for the Buffalo Police Department appears to shove a woman to the ground while responding to crowds on Chippewa Street this weekend. Police were responding to a chaotic scene on Chippewa Saturday night, though we don't know the details of the call officers are responding to. This short video provided to us by Buffalo 4K TV shows Deputy Commissioner William Macy seemingly shoving a woman to the ground who was walking near him. We do not know the context behind the incident. Buffalo Police Commissioner Erica Shields releasing a statement tonight saying, quote, "The social media video clip circulating of Deputy Commissioner Macy during the disturbances on Chippewa Street Saturday night is concerning. We are gathering additional video and information to conduct a thorough review of the incident. We will not comment further until that review is complete," unquote, and we will keep you updated as we learn more.
All right, so you got that going on too. What else? What else could we expect out of Western New York? You know, what else is going to happen? Let's go back to another news report of something else. This is a big deal, and this is a very sensitive issue. I got to find it first. This is very sad. Give me a second, guys. You know what I mean? I'm not quick on the draw. I wasn't prepared. I got a lot to do in the next 24 hours here, but I want to address this issue. This is a big deal. A lot of victims involved in this one. Executive pastor at the chapel. Now, the chapel is a mega church. It's been growing for many years. I don't know the history of the chapel. I do know that it's got 4 major campuses in Western New York alone, and it's been going on for quite a while. But this former executive pastor at the chapel, and this would be the northern campus, I think they call it Cross Point, which is the major, big, huge church. He pleads guilty to child abuse charges. And specifically that kind of, the algorithms, they're not friendly with some of these words, but this SA charges. Terrible. So the Erie County District Attorney announced that the Williamsville man pleaded guilty. 47-year-old John A. Camardo III, a former executive pastor at the chapel, pleaded guilty in state Supreme Court to one count of second degree course of SA against a child. And as far as I understand, he's not going to be standing too long in prison when people get a hold of him. It's terrible. So between April 2024 to May, just 2 months, he engaged in intercourse with a victim that was less than 15 years old. Now, I've heard of this from other people's. There's other people I've seen and heard about this. People that I know that's done something like this. Okay? And it's devastating. It destroys people's trust in God when it's a spiritual leader like this. It diminishes the love of God and who God is because of this, because of one person's actions, because of one person's lack of self-control, because they don't belong in those kind of positions. Who knows? I don't know this person. I don't claim to know anything about this person. But some people do not belong in those positions that are acting out of their own selfish desires. And it's not just SA. It's not just, problems with the sexual things, but it's theft. It's lying and cheating on taxes. It's, you name it. It's the whole gambit. This is church culture, guys. It's sad, but this is what's happened. And it's not new. This is what's happened since the beginning. It's happened even in the Bible. It's happened outside the Bible. As the church has grown, scandal has been there. It's nothing new under the sun. We're not talking about something that has just happened. This is a progressive thing that happens throughout history. And some people get caught, some people do not. And in case people do not want to talk about it, which is why they don't get caught. Speak up, talk about it. You got to be forthright with what's happening. Don't be shy. If you've been assaulted like that, speak up. Tell parents. Tell teachers. Tell somebody. If there's accusations that are false, those people need to keep their mouth shut, because some people are just money grabbers, but not this. This is a victimization of youth. It's sick. It's a sickness. It's called sin. It's really about the sin nature of mankind that only Jesus Christ can redeem. But doesn't mean you're not going to, you did whatever you did. It's not saying that you're not going to pay for it somehow. There's consequences for every action. I don't care what it is. Good, bad, ugly, anything that is against God's will, there's a consequence for it. Now, for your soul's sake, only Jesus can redeem your soul and save it from hellfire. But your body, something's gonna, show itself somehow. It just that's human nature. What you sow to the flesh, you reap in the flesh. Period. The DA was known. The DA said Camardo was known to the victims, and the crimes occurred at a location in the town of Amherst. Yes, the pretty little city of Amherst. They got cops everywhere. They'll pull you over for stupid moving violations. Yet this occurs in that city too. It's a suburb north of Buffalo for those who are out of this area. So, News 7 has detained a copy of an email that the chapel released to its church family, which it says in part, we are saddened to share some disheartening news with you in relation to John Camardo. With the following sentence, we want to explain a few procedural items that will answer some questions. So there's a whole letter sent out here. You go to Channel 7, WKBW.com. You can search for it. All the details in here. I'm not going to read the whole thing. So he's going to be scheduled September 10th, and he faces a determination sentence between 6 to 8 years in prison. That's it. But while he's in prison, if these guys know what he did, he's going to be targeted. That's just no doubt about it. Remember I was saying there's always repercussions, but there's judgment. God's judging his churches. This is just one sign also. He's going to judge the churches. He's going to judge the people who call him Lord. He was held without bail, and temporary orders of protection were issued on behalf of the victims. So they're not going to discuss all the details about what happened. Too graphic. They were young. I don't even know that. I mean, that's 2 years ago. So they're still in their teens. So it's, they're not going to release that details of who, what, where, when, why, and how yet. It's just too much of a private issue and a shameful thing. Somebody gets outed as being SA'd in church, especially. It's probably going to be very hurtful. I don't know. That hurts my heart, man, to see that kind of thing happening. It hurts my heart. It's not just that, it's even on top of that is people using their position of authority to assert themselves in this kind of way. Not just to underage, but just anybody. Manipulate people. Whatever it is, to get what they want. Self-gratification. It's a sickness. It's sin. That's all it is. Now, I want to get to this issue also. This guy's name is Nate Boyd. He's a local voice of the black community in Buffalo area. If you want to know the heartbeat of the black community, I believe he is the biggest voice right now. There are others, but he says it like it is. He's keeping it real. He's not mincing words. I don't even want to get into local news as much anymore, but just give me a second, guys. I got little corrections here and there. So, for those of you who don't know, I mean, you've known, we've had the borders open, and with that an influx of a bunch of different migrants from many countries. There's no exclusive country just coming in by themselves. It's many countries. And they all have representation through their community. And so they have their own voices of opinions as to how things should be run. And most of the time, communities stick to their own kind. And they don't really go outside of that community, and they just help each other, which is, I would say, it's very honorable and noble to do that. I mean, I think about even back in the day.
Nate Boyd, so
I'm going to get to him in a second. Back in the day, Irish immigrants didn't have anybody to really talk to, outside of their community. So they would rely on themselves. The English hated them. Native people born here, not talking about Native American Indians, but those that were Americanized or colonizers, descendants, when the Irish started migrating in the mid-1800s, the Irish didn't have anybody but themselves. The Italians didn't have anybody but themselves. After World War II, the Germans didn't have anybody but themselves. It's just a continuous immigration issue. When you got a new group of people coming in, they just have themselves. So I don't just to be clear, I don't penalize people for taking care of their own. That's it's almost a given. You're part of a community, you help each other. You should be doing that. But the Irish in Western New York, not so much cohesive as they were 150 years ago or even 20 years ago. We do have the Irish Heritage District, who is getting less and less Irish as the years go by in South Buffalo. I'm not mad. I like cultures. I like different cultures. But I am respectful of people's cultures, and people should also be respectful of mine as well. But I enjoy experiencing what other people's cultures are, as long as you don't have an elitist attitude about yours. And you're so closed in that you're not willing to have conversations outside of that little bubble that you're in. All right, moving forward, here's Nate Boyd. This is a guy in Buffalo, 62-year-old black male from, I believe he's on the east side, who is very opinionated about a couple topics, and this is about 20 minutes. So we're going to watch it. I'm not going to comment too much on it because he says it all on his own.
Okay, I'm live. Good morning, America. Hello, America. Hello, Buffalo. Nate Boyd. So, I had to come on here. This morning right quick because I need to talk to y'all. First of all, I need to thank y'all for those. Almost 1,000, over 900, almost 1,000 get well wishes. You know what I mean? Best wishes for when I was in the hospital a couple of days ago. You know what I mean? All them prayers, they definitely worked. I ain't had to have that surgery. Y'all know that was incredible. My doctor had told me that the next time that I see him, that I was going to be having that major surgery where they wasn't going to just be putting no balloons in. They was going to actually be removing my arteries and putting in some artificial arteries, because that would have been the next step, right? Well, all this came about, actually come to find out, because I really wasn't taking my medicine correctly. Because I really wasn't taking my medicine correctly, right? Because after God blessed me and I beat that cancer, right? I really started messing up, you know what I mean? I really started messing up back to my old ways. I ain't gonna lie, you know what I mean? Drinking, eating anything, you know what I mean? Just feeling like Superman, that's what I was doing. And that thing wind up and it caught up to me and it almost destroyed me. It almost took me out, okay? Because that's a lot of what we do. We get miracles, we get blessed, we get cured from something, and then we go right back to indulging in everything. See? And so that's what happened to me, for real, y'all. That's what happened to me, and I almost caught it. Let me tell you something. They told me.
You know, I'm gonna say something real quick. This is kind of like me almost, because I had a heart attack 3 years ago. As a matter of fact, in 5 days will be the 3-year anniversary of my open heart surgery. And I'll talk about that next week maybe. But tomorrow my father's also getting something done in his heart. I addressed that last week. But this is going to be my 3rd-year anniversary of my open heart surgery, single bypass, long story. But to kind of piggyback on what he's saying, same thing happened to me at one point where I was just kind of like, okay, I take my medicine, then I stopped taking it for a week, and just kind of, oh, everything is fine, and you can sense it. I felt it. I was a little off, so I had to kind of get back on the horse and stay on my routine with the health issue. So I feel what he's saying, and it's exactly what I did too. So, but let's continue.
For real, if I hadn't came in there when I came in there, it could have been real serious. And I was in the emergency room, they was talking about, yo, we gonna straight up, we gotta do that surgery. So again, I gotta thank y'all for y'all prayers and y'all best wishes. But this is more important. This is more important is to all you people that blessed me, to them over 950 people that amen to me or whatever. This is what I need y'all to do. I need y'all to show up this Saturday at 10 o'clock at 119 Sumner to the Together We Are Stronger meeting. Now listen, I need y'all to show up. All you people, all my people, all them people, you almost 1,000 people. You want my best wishes? Well, I want what's best for you. Now listen, that Stronger Together movement is very important. That's when us black people can come together and talk about what we need to do to bring ourselves together like every other nationality in this city. Okay? Now when I went to that hospital, my blood pressure was 219/100. Stressing out, okay? Because a lot of people's issues as well as mine, okay? So now we got to start handling this stuff together, y'all. Now listen, I want y'all to remember something. Now I posted that video of the men in white a few years ago when Neil was still around, right? I posted that video of a meeting that we had, I think it was at Elam Church. And I posted that video so y'all could see how together we was. Y'all could see how many of us it was. And again, who would you see there? You see Kenny Simmons. You see Neil Davis, and you see Nate Boyd doing my Facebook reports and all the other people that was there, right? All the people. That was the strongest movement that we ever had in the city of Buffalo, as far as that I can remember. You understand? When the men and when the most valuable parents came together, y'all remember that movement? All y'all that was there, I know y'all remember that movement because we was there. We was strong. We was so strong. We went from 10s to 20s to 30s to hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people. Remember y'all? We was together. We was so strong. But what broke that up? I'm going to keep it real. I ain't going to hold nothing back. What broke it up was when Byron Brown joined. When people decided to let Byron Brown join the most valuable parents up there on Fillmore at that big thing that we had, where we had all those people together, it was stopping all the violence that was going on right now. My brother Neil decided to let Byron Brown in.
So Byron Brown was our mayor in the city of Buffalo for 16 years, something like that, close to it. 4 terms, I believe, and long story with that, but first African-American mayor in Buffalo, and he held that title longest, even I think is longer than Jimmy Griffin. Jimmy Griffin was really South Buffalo cat, more focused on Irish South Buffalo, anyways. Byron Brown came in, and he had this appeal to the African-American communities, and yet what Nate is saying is that he actually divided them. So the Democratic Party, the supposed to be the party of the people, right? Of everybody, so to speak. And there was an agenda there. There was an agenda. Now Shawn Ryan is in control of the helm. And I don't want to say anything good right now, just yet.
Keeping it real. And from the time Byron Brown joined our movement to now, look what's done happened. Look how that movement just fell apart. We was as strong as we had ever been together, y'all, before we let him in. We were stronger than we had ever been before we let Byron Brown in. We had done that thing ourselves. Remember, it started from the Kenny spot up there on Bailey and Langfield, where I used to teach Taekwondo. At Kenny spot, okay, and that gym up there. That's where we started at, and we built to something that was huge. It was incredible. We had hundreds and hundreds of members. I know y'all remember that. I know anybody who was there, y'all remember that. What happened to that? How did it fall apart? At that time, we could have did anything that we chose to do. We was going door to door together. Y'all remember how strong we was? We was together. All of us, the most valuable parents, was together. It was hundreds of us. That was a super strong movement, y'all. We was together. We was moving together. And then we let Byron Brown come in and separate us. From that happened, what happened after Byron Brown joined up, okay? Week after week after week, men started dropping out. Men started disappearing, okay? Because they got just what they wanted. They stopped our movement cold. We was up there on Fillmore, they stopped our movement cold. Stopped us cold. Remember when that girl got killed over there on Butler Street? Remember how we showed up, y'all? We was about 100 deep. Remember how we showed up together? We was together then. Remember George Johnson? I know you remember. You was there. Remember when Nate Hare was there at Elam talking to us? Y'all remember?
So here's what I see. I see the party that's for everybody does not want unity because you don't want movements within the party dominating another plan within the party. This is what I'm seeing. You know, and what Nate's, Mr. Boyd's gripe, he'll address it even further. It really is about the division within the African American community in the city of Buffalo, which I say is a microcosm of America. It's exactly what's happening throughout this country. And with the exception of those that come from other African cultures coming together that bring together each other in unity, their community. I'm talking about the American-born African descent and also European descent. We all have lost our ability to really be strong community based on culture or ethnicity or anything without being hurtful to other cultures and ethnicities, without being segregated entirely, but still helping each other within our community. So I understand where he's coming from.
How strong we was together. How strong we was together. I need y'all to remember that because wasn't nothing like that before then. In my lifetime in Buffalo, and ain't been nothing as strong as that after that. Ain't been but who'd you see there? You saw Kenny Simmons. You saw Kenny Simmons right there, providing the spot, leading the way. You saw Neil Dobbins there. You saw Nate Boyd. You saw all the other brothers, the strong brothers. And then you saw the strong sisters. We was there together. We was united because we had enough, all the killing, all the stuff that was going on. You understand? We had enough, right? And so then, Byron Brown joined and broke us apart. Okay, that's just the way it is. He joined and everything fell apart within 6 months. Most valuable parents kept shrinking and shrinking and shrinking and shrinking until within a year it was all gone. You understand? Until in a year it was all over. It was gone. Okay, it ain't nothing been like that since. But listen, I'm telling y'all right now. I'm telling you, men and women. Now, when me and Kenny last year we was up there at the park, and we called for the 1,000 men to come together. The men showed up, okay, and we started something big, okay? Well, listen, I got to tell y'all something. We have to continue that. We have to keep that going, and now is our moment again because we're running out of time. If we had to move together back then, think about it. If we had to put our money together back then, think about what we could have did. If we had bought up a bunch of these properties, then think about what we could have did. Y'all understand what I'm saying? But we didn't do it. We missed our chance. But now we got another chance, and this might be our last chance ever. Now, I'm telling y'all, 119 Sumner, 10 a.m., okay, Reverend Tommy Bapp's church. This is where we need to be, y'all. This is where y'all need to show up at. I'm talking about men and women. Listen, black people, why are you so ashamed of being black? Listen, now I'm telling you something. I'm telling y'all this because God keep preserving me, okay? God keep preserving me, whether y'all like it or not. He keep rescuing me against my own self, whether y'all like it or not, okay? God keep on saving me. How many times do you think he's going to keep saving you? Because I know my time is running short until I got to do what I got to do to be the example. Okay? Just because my eyes watering don't mean nothing. I don't care about that. What I need y'all to understand that my eyes is not watering for me, it's watering for y'all. It's watering for my people that want to understand that if we don't come together, now it's going to be too late.
I love this guy's passion. Mr. Boyd, salute to you. He's absolutely sincere, and he's a voice of his community, and he's constantly preaching unity, and he's constantly preaching the pride of who he is, where he comes from, and how they can instill even more pride in building together. This is the issue with a lot of people now. I mean, a lot of people, my cultures, little by little have abandoned the city of Buffalo to the suburbs or the country. And that's their right to do so. There's nothing wrong with that. But they have forgotten the people that they left behind. And as a result, there is no community here in Western New York like that for our culture. But this is what's happened in their culture.
Hear this. I need y'all to show up. You understand? I need y'all to show up. Okay? Because these tears is for y'all. Because these are tears of what my people keep going through every day. We got to go to all these different stores in our community every day, and ain't none of ours. We got to keep on spending our money every day, but we ain't spending it with each other. You understand? The east side of Buffalo is a multi-million-dollar enterprise. Everybody making millions, but us. When we going to come together and get our own? Because we had an opportunity to do it. You understand? We had an opportunity to do it, but we didn't. We let it pass us up. But again, times have changed. Now we got another opportunity, y'all. Now we have another opportunity to come together, but I'm telling you, it's running short. If y'all ever can take heed to me, y'all, you got to change your life. This is how this is how we got to come together. If we don't, we just crying in the wind. I'm just crying in the wind. I've been saying the same thing for the last 20, 25 years. I've been saying the same thing, y'all. We could have got Central Park Plaza. We was over to Elam across from Central Park Plaza. We could have put our money together, and we could have did some things. Now things is getting harder. It costs even more to do it. We got to be proud of each other. We got to be proud of our community. We got to be proud. Listen, all you black people that's already got it, y'all are the ones that really need to be there. All you black people that's got it, y'all need to be there. We can put our money together. You know what I mean? Nobody is stopping us but us. That's right. From sick and tired. Listen, y'all. We got to start putting our money together. We got to come together, okay? Now, they got a plan down there. Baps got a plan down there, okay? Simmons got a plan down there, okay? J.J. Buck got a plan down there. Legislator Lawrence Dupree, they got a plan down there. They need y'all to come down there and be a part of the plan. They need us to put our money together so we can buy something of our own. So finally, we have to buy something of our own. So if y'all tired of complaining, listen, I'm telling you another thing. Y'all.
Okay. So, real quick. This is happening again. I want to hear from other people. You can send them to me in voicemails and stuff like that, emails. I don't care. ShawnPGreene.com. You can get a hold of me on any social media platform I got up there. I want to see your videos. I want to see your commentaries. I want to see your complaints from your city. I want to see the same kind of feedback. You know, Nate is not doing this for me. This is his own platform on his Facebook page that he has been voicing his opinion about what his neighborhoods are changing into that he's seen. And I'm telling you, I cannot believe it myself. The whole city of Buffalo is not what it was when I left in 1989. It's completely a different city. I didn't even recognize it. Nothing wrong with change. I'm not saying we shouldn't change, progress, have more diversity. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying we don't have a grip on our own stuff anymore. And it's politicians that are messing a lot of things up for communities that have been established here to make room for newer communities who have no respect for laws today. Now, he's going to address that a little bit. There's a big project, and I passed through it today. I couldn't believe how big this project was. that is not employing anybody from the east side. So I get his complaint that, we're having violence in the city. Nobody's got a job, all right? Or they want jobs and they're not given the opportunities. So they resort to crime, mischievousness. They're bored. They ain't doing nothing. And I'm not saying everybody's, a good person. You know what I mean? Some people are just evil. And they're gonna have issues of laziness no matter what. I'm not just talking about one culture. I'm talking about people across the board. They won't want to do nothing. Nothing community-based to build. They just want to do nothing. All right?
Y'all see the Bangladesh? I got to tell you the Bangladesh. They don't need us for nothing.
So
Bangladesh don't need us for
he's
nothing.
talking about the Bangladeshis. He calls them Arabs, but they're Yemenis. In nature, some of them could be from Arabia, but they're descendants of the Arabians, Yemenis. The Bangladeshi, they're kind of a mixture between India, Thailand, China. They're kind of meshed in with a separate people group of their own, the Bengali people.
I something of my own. So if y'all tired of complaining, listen, I'm telling you another thing. Y'all see the Bangladesh? I got to tell you the Bangladesh. They don't need us for nothing. Bangladesh don't need us for nothing. Okay? Buying up all the home. They got their own supermarkets everywhere. Listen, you go to them supermarkets, if you don't see not one of us Americans, it ain't going to mean nothing. Because they got enough money, they only spend money in themselves, with themselves. Okay? There's a lot of Arabian stores around the city of Buffalo. You don't see the Bangladesh and the Arabian stores spending money, do you? Do you? They spending money with their own. Y'all understand? That's how they doing it. And they doing quite well with it. They showed us that they don't need us. All they need is each other. Why we can't take that example? Why you don't understand that, y'all, that all we need is each other? Why y'all don't understand that? Why you don't understand that? Now, I'm telling you right now, I'll keep talking about it. I wish y'all need to share this video, okay? Because the bottom line is, I know what I'm supposed to do, and I know what my mission is, okay? My mission is to inspire y'all. I can't help it that God chose me to be a leader. I'm going to do what I'm supposed to do, though. You understand me? I'm 66 years old. I'm not no spring chicken, but I'm still doing that work and putting that work in that he's telling me that I got to put in. So I'm telling y'all, we must change what's going on. I'm telling y'all. Y'all must stop being afraid to come together, especially y'all that have it. The ones that have it, y'all need to be there. The have-nots, they need to be there. I don't care if you got hundreds, you need to be there. You need to come there. A lot of people need to come there with $1,000 so they can get their, I believe it's 10 shares into what's going on, into our corporation, as we gonna find the right spot that we need for us. But this is important, y'all. This is important that y'all get off the sideline into the front line. It's important that y'all stop complaining.
Okay, so this is the point. Go to my Facebook. That was about half of it. There's another 10 minutes. I can't go any further. I got to keep going. Just got a lot of other things I got to get prepared for the rest of tonight. But it's a legitimate problem. And people need to address these things. And I love Nate Boyd and his passion for his people. And what he's trying to do, the
Christian Zionists think they're making Jesus come back on this power trip of the thrill of summoning destruction and summoning Christ.
All right, I didn't mean put Alex Jones on that. So that's a whole different issue. The point is this. There's a lot going on in the world, but man, there's a lot going on locally that we have to deal with. On top of the world issues that we got to try to figure out how to navigate in this whole society and this planet. We're all focused on this World Cup. Some people, going to the pubs, watching the games, watching Norway have its way with everybody, and that kind of thing. Like, that's entertainment. It's just a distraction from everything else that's happening around us. And a lot of people, they get stressed out over news and all that stuff, and I get it. They get anxiety, and this is the thing. When you lean on God, and not your own understanding, but you're aware of what's going on. It's important that you know what's happening because you're going to pray for things. You're going to pray about it. You're going to say, Father, help us. And then you work on yourself in the process, in the meantime. You can't change everybody else, but you can pray, Lord, help us. And just get yourself together, if anything. You know, so you can't change the world by yourself, but together in unity, that's the only way it's going to work. But don't have anxiety over everything. You know, lean not on your own understanding. Be anxious for nothing. This is all biblical concepts. Maybe I'll go to the Bible Learning Center before we go. There's one last thing maybe I want to address. Let's see. Talked about the church fires, the Buffalo scandals. I talked about those three things. The government, immigration, this is what Nate Boyd was addressing. I mean, the Bangladeshis have taken over the east side of Buffalo. And they're little by little spilling over into the other parts of the city. Not only that, Cheektowaga, little by little, they're taking over. And they're smart. I'm not going to discredit them for their intelligence. The Yemenis or Arabian, whatever you want to call people groups, they're taking over little by little in all these little shops. You know, these stores that are either abandoned or empty, and they're buying them or renting them, and they're putting products in there. Now, I'm telling you right now, there's one shop in particular I see all the time. It's not busy, and it's fully stocked all the time. How is it still in business with minimal traffic? Aha. There is some illegal activities going on, and they're allowed to be that way if it's furthering the Islamic agenda. They're allowed to be deceiving or even destroying other societies if they don't submit. See, they can't, right now, they can't forcibly slaughter whole neighborhoods without repercussions from the U.S. government, the state troopers, and so on and so forth. So they find other ways. There's a gap in the drug trade, and they found loopholes. Because of the southern border is a little bit more tighter, now they had to do it from within. Somehow this material is trafficking inside, and they're starting to give other people opportunities that are within for those trades. Listen, guys, it's deeper than I can imagine, than you can imagine what's going on. O.J. Simpson. I'll do 2 sports points, and then I'm done. All right, so Buffalo Bills do not want to put O.J. Simpson's name in the Ring of Fame or the Wall of Fame in the new stadium. They do not want to do it. One of Nate Boyd's things, and if you listen to the rest of that, another one of his complaints too is that they won't allow him to be in there, even though he was the main part of what he did in our city, specifically on the east side when War Memorial Stadium was where the Buffalo Bills were housed until the 70s. So OJ made a name for himself in our city. He put our sports team on the map and a bigger level, and he deservingly, in his opinion, should still be on the Buffalo Bills Wall of Fame. And then even though they took the team out of the city of Buffalo and put it into the suburbs in Orchard Park, they shouldn't have the say-so in what goes on in that stadium. So the voice of the city of Buffalo is not heard when it comes to that particular issue too. So that's his point. That's Nate's point. So OJ is not, I don't know yet. There's no definite solid solution, I don't think, if OJ's name will be in the Wall of Fame in new Hallmark Stadium or not. We're going to get to that whenever I see the developing story. And the final sports thing, World Cup is gone crazy all over the world. I think France beat Spain. Yeah, Spain beat Belgium. Spain beat France. So that was today. Spain beat France. So France is out. And it's between Spain, and I think England and Argentina play today or tomorrow, the 15th of July. And whoever wins that will play Spain, which is really crazy to see that it's South America versus Europe in this situation. And if England wins, it's sad because Norway was like the favorite. They lost to England. If England wins, then it'll be between England and Spain. It'll be strictly a Western European World Cup. Argentina, I think, won it last year, so they're the favorite. But if England beat Norway, that's a big accomplishment with how Norway performed throughout that World Cup. So that's all I got. I don't really care. Again, so take that to wherever you want to take it. Anything else I want to discuss? Nate Boyd. Oh, my dude, Zadok. This is all on my Facebook. Go to that. Zadok, the God Hop MC. Got a new song out. There's a lot of other things that you can just go to my Facebook if you want to look at some stuff. I don't really got nothing else to talk about. You know, we've already discussed the violent weekend last week. So that's pretty much it. So now that we're done with that, let's go to the Bible Learning Center. Let's just read. We'll read 2 Timothy chapter 1, verse 1. And we'll go right through it. Paul, the apostle, Paul, an apostle of Jesus Christ, by the will of God, according to the promise of life which is in Christ Jesus. It's interesting how that term is flipped in that sentence of Christ Jesus, Jesus Christ. Remember, Christ is not his last name. That is a title. If you interpret this name, stretch it all out, Hebrew from the Latin and Greek Hebrew, okay, it means Jehovah, my salvation, the anointed one. That's what Jesus Christ means, okay? Jesus, Jehovah is my salvation, Christ, the anointed one, or the Messiah is a title that they were given. All right, so the promise which is in the anointed one, Jesus. Okay. Timothy. So this is Paul writing to Timothy. My dearly beloved son, grace, mercy, and peace from God the Father and the anointed one, Jesus, our Lord. So God the Father and Christ Jesus, our Lord. In that sentence, it looks like it's two distinct names. That's just something to think about. Verse 3. I thank God, whom I serve for my forefathers with pure conscience. So this is one thing I want you to consider. If you're a church leader, here's something that makes it relevant for this type of topic in the church specifically. Paul says, I thank God. He's not boasting on himself because God is the one that's helping him through this. I thank God whom I serve. So he's dedicated himself to God. From my forefathers. The God that he serves is the God from his forefathers. with pure conscience. So he's not doing it with evil intentions, with an ulterior motive, or with a desire to bring the spotlight to himself. He's got a clear, pure conscience, that without ceasing I have remembrance of you in my prayers night and day. So he's proclaiming that Timothy is always in his prayers. He's always interceding for him so that he does well in his journey as the leader of Ephesus, very corrupt city, by the way. Greatly desiring to see you, being mindful of thy tears, that I may be filled with joy. He wants to see him again. You won't ever see him again, as far as I know. This is Paul writing. I believe he was in prison when he wrote this to Timothy. It's one of his final letters while he's in Rome, I believe. But he wants to see him again. When I call to remembrance the unfeigned faith that is in you, he's exhorting him how great of a faith that Timothy has, which dwelt first in thy... So here's a great thing. Timothy didn't just learn this, not just by Paul as an example, as an apostle, but this is who influenced him the most. Never underestimate the powers of prayers of a mother and a grandmother. All right, so getting back, he says, when I call remembrance, or if I recall the unfeigned or fervent love, faith that is in you, which dwelt first in your grandmother, Lois. So that same faith was in the grandmother. And thy mother, Eunice. So the mother had the same, it was a generational blessing passed on from grandmother to mother to son to grandson. And I am persuaded that in thee also. So this faith is amazing through these 3 generations. I'm persuaded that in thee also, wherefore I put thee in remembrance that thou stir up the gift of God, which is in thee by the putting on of my hands. So the faith was in him through generations, but the giftings of the God, he stirred him up. Paul stirred up Timothy. So there's power in generational blessing and the laying on of hands for exhortation and stirring up gifts. For God has not given us a spirit of fear. So he's telling him the gifts that were stirred up in you were not of the enemy. God's not given him that spirit of fear. Faith is the total opposite of that. He says, I put in remembrance that thou stir up the gift of God which is in you by the putting on of my hands. For God has not given you a spirit of fear. What did he give him by the laying on of hands? Power, love, sound mind. In other words, you're in your right mind. So he stirred up those gifts. Be not, and this is his charge to him, be not thou therefore ashamed of the testimony of our Lord. So the things that Jesus has done, don't be ashamed of it. Just like Romans 1:16, I am not ashamed of the gospel of Jesus Christ, nor of me, his prisoner. So don't be ashamed of what state I'm in, and don't discredit my walk with Christ based on my current situation. But be thou partaker of the affliction of the gospel according to the power of God. That's a hard pill to swallow unless you have faith, unless God has anointed you, unless the gift has been stirred up in you. Who has saved us and called us with and holy calling, not according to our works, but according to his own purpose. So we're not calling ourselves for our own work's sake, but according to his purpose and grace. So God alone has the plan, the purpose, and the grace for us. Grace is like the empowerment to do the thing God's called you to do, which was given to us in the Anointed One. This plan, the works to do were given to us in the Anointed One, Jesus, before the world began. God had plans already, long time ago, before you were even born, before you were even thought of. Before the world began, God had these plans. It's amazing to think about. But it's now made manifest by the appearance of our Lord, our Savior, Jesus, the Anointed One, who hath abolished death, has brought life and immortality to light through the good news, or the gospel. Whereunto I am appointed a preacher, and an apostle, and a teacher of the Gentiles. So this is clarifying Paul's function as a preacher, as an apostle, and a teacher of the Gentiles. We all have a calling. He's just trying to explain to Timothy, we all have a calling, a plan, a purpose, and that faith in God alone and his plans and his purpose is all you need to function properly. And then the laying on of hands is a spiritual quickening. It's like the Holy Ghost, the transferring of the Holy Ghost from one to the next, to stir up the gifts, the spiritual gifts that only comes from the Holy Ghost. There are some grace gifts that God's given you, and those gifts are intended to prove God's called you, but it's not the spiritual gift. It's the physical gift that God created you to fulfill on earth. The spiritual gifts are the extensions of those giftings in a different sense, in a different plan, and in another level of going deeper with God's plans. So, with all that said, do I have any comments from the peanut gallery? I don't think so. Whew, wow, God is so good, man. Any comments, any questions? You know, remember, you got to go to Shawn P. Greene, ShawnPGreene.com. I got all the details. I got all the business. I got what you got. I got what you need. So today, very important topics that I discussed. I have to leave, and I will come back next Tuesday with more stuff, I'm sure. News cycles just within 1 week, they're quick, and you have to catch them sometimes. And there's some things I probably wanted to talk about I never got to today. But I think that's enough for today. There's a lot going on in Buffalo, as you know. And again, it's a microcosm of what's happening all over the area in the United States. You know, Islam has been trying to take over for many, many years, and they've been doing death to America chants all over to the world, in different countries, and they're starting to do it on this land, but they're doing it from European countries that they've started to take over little by little as well. And they're expecting us to say, "Oh, that's okay, that's good. I'm glad you're doing that. You're keeping us all in check. You know, that's acceptable behavior." No, it's not acceptable. You know, we're not saying to assimilate every single detail of your life to what we do. Like, if you're in Buffalo, you have to have blue cheese. You can't have ranch. That's not what I'm saying. that's minute cultural stuff. That really, it's no big deal if you have a problem. Okay. I'm not saying that's a problem. The problem is, though, that you don't assimilate to the you're insistent on taking over the society, and you're insisting on imposing your expectations of what society should be. And what you're doing is you're bringing a corrupt system that didn't work in your country to a newer country and expect them to adapt to that corrupt culture. I'm not saying capitalism is any better, but we're definitely a lot safer in many aspects. Democratic republic, capitalistic society, it's a lot safer in many ways. I'm not being persecuted for being a Christian in this country. But if I go somewhere else, somebody else might have a problem with that. So Paul telling Timothy to just stay encouraged, exhorting people for having faith. Even though Ephesus, the city that Timothy was in, was terrible, full of idolatry, full of disgusting, you would say capitalism. They were capitalizing on idolatry. And it was perversion, sexual perversion. Nothing new under the sun. But God has a remnant. God preserves people in certain areas. Worldwide, historically, He still preserves His people in the midst of all this stuff. Stay encouraged. Stay in the faith. Pray for these people. Pray for the corrupt ones. Pray for the idolatrous ones. The evil ones. The ones that conform to nothing but their own agendas. Communists, socialist Democrats, all the stuff that's all trying to overtake Islamic, agenda. America's in for this awakening, but they're also in for a rude awakening if they're not prepared, if they're not paying attention. That's all I got. Shawn P. Greene, the Shawn P. Greene Show, ShawnPGreene.com. And remember, if you can, support a brother.
You're listening
I got a donation
to the
page
Shawn
on my website.
P.
All right.
Greene Show.
Simple. Shawn P. Greene. You could go to the donate tab. And you got the Cash App and you got the PayPal. And if you want to mail it to me, then you got to go be my friend on Facebook and IM me.
You're
and I will
listening
give you
to
more
the
details.
Shawn P.
That's all I got, bro.
Greene Show.
Thanks for listening and watching. I'm out.